generally the digital world is going to be much more important for us. So we see that already in the COVID situation when everything has moved online. Companies like Zoom and the other digital companies are doing extremely well. And we have a lot more video conferencing and video sort of interviews, right? But we are not yet in the real metaverse. Why I say that is today, if I ask how many of you actually have a solid digital career identity? When I say career identity is that other than resume, do you have other information about you that gives an honest and compelling picture of your profile? A lot of you don't, as much as I see, right? Even before I started a real sort of social media kind of push, I didn't exist a lot. So there's something I wanted to invite you to think as well. So 70% of employers already do vet through the social media before job interview, meaning they actually check on you before they meet you. And that number will only go up, right? As more and more as sort of we dwell not only in the reality or physical world, but also in the virtual world as well. And I want to, as much as you all are pretty, I'm guessing that, young professionals, so you do have a very long experience in the digital world. I still want to urge you to develop your digital presence. And that does not mean only, LinkedIn, because basically, of course, LinkedIn is very important, and you may not be able to sort of post things that you produce your own content, but what you have shared and what you have liked and all that are going to come together to form a solid impression of who you are and what your interests are, who you follow, and all that, right? And besides LinkedIn, you also have a chance to kind of work with others to work on, get mentioned on certain professional websites, or be part of certain initiative, or or even have your own personal website to showcase, a better picture of who you are, what you are capable of doing, and what your interests are. So that is number one.
Don't forget to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, please do give the videos a like. It means a lot to me continuing with this channel.
Number two is video communication skills. I think some of you might have already experienced, especially if you are at work, right? Because a lot of information will be cut lost when we are communicating with others through internet, through the screen. So you need to learn the skills to make yourself heard well and also make yourself seen well. So sometimes some of us don't really realize that we are not being presented in the best way we can in front of the camera. Like I had one session with a client, and he started the session with me like this. And he was basically leaning back on his chair. So the whole session I was looking at his chin, not his eyes. But of course I could understand, because he was also not at his best. He was retrenched and not very, cheerful. At the end of the session, he started to lean forward and he became more engaged and happy. And then I told him, you are looking much better now. At least you are looking into the camera. So that's something that I want you to be, especially careful, because now we are cut, we are reduced into just one window, and you want to make sure how you manage your image and your voice that come across. ATS, not the other ATS, but basically the robots that screen through our resumes. That's where you want to make sure your resume is optimized when it's being filtered through by the robots. And that's, again, you see how we are actually interacting with the virtual or digital world. Lastly, virtual network. So just imagine that in the past, we could walk into any career fair or sort of any offline events. We start to have small talks, and we build some sort of interpersonal relationship without being too direct or very sort of seriously asking the other party, I need a job. So before you actually go to that phase, you actually have a bit of a cushion. But today, when we try to develop that network on LinkedIn or through referral, you become very practical. You go to the person and say, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? And the chance of success is much lower. How do we tackle that, right? Through this new way of making friends. And there are definitely a few channels which I'll be happy to share later as well. I encourage all of you to think through how you engage and build in your digital presence in this virtual world as it becomes more and more important and accelerated by the COVID situation. A lot of you have asked the question as well, how do I position myself or differentiate myself? So of course, it sounds like it's more difficult when you actually don't have any experience and all you have is a degree and then your school name and it looks like your CV is very similar to the others. But I'll say that sometimes even if you have experience, and let's say you are a marketing professional or you are from consulting or you are from say project management background and all that, your profile can still look like same as the others who have similar background. So it really does not matter, right? Like when some of my clients are from these top tier consulting firm like McKinsey, BCG, then when it comes, I tell them, I say, you are great, but you are competing against other McKinsey, BCG guys, and your CV looks like just another McKinsey, BCG. What's the differentiator? So here my point is, whether or not you have experience, you still need to differentiate yourself, and that challenge is always present. How do we do that? I use this framework a lot because I developed it, but also because I have looked through a lot of HR framework and I simplified everything. So it's much easier to understand and guide my clients through. If you see the chart on the left side, it looks like an onion, and I intentionally did that because I want to express that your identity especially as who you are, what drives you, what's your motivation, should be at the core of everything of your being. And how you relate to others, how you work with others, whether your leadership or your capability to collaborate or your capability to sort of develop something with someone else. All this is about knowing whom and how you work with people. And only then the rest is about know-how, is your skills, your knowledge to do the work, and then your industry context. This is very simple, but a lot of times people are overly emphasizing on the least important piece, which is the know what. People start out saying, oh, I don't have that industry experience. How do I get in? People start out talking about, oh, I don't have a lot of skills yet. I'm not saying these two are not important, but for you to differentiate is that, let's say, when we say differentiate, we are not competing with people who have more of the industry background or the skill or knowledge than us. We are talking about differentiating from people who have similar background as us. Right? So if people who already have more industry experience and all that, then it's not about differentiation because you are already at loss on that front. You have to find a strategic point for the potential employer to still take you in with your other strength. So that's a strategy play. But if we are using a differentiation play, then we are assuming your industry background, domain experience, and your skills are similar. Then how do you differentiate? That goes back to 1 and 2, your identity and know whom. You might think that these two are very vague, right? Like how do you explain then my identity and how do I work with people? So that's something I work on a lot because I saw one of you also ask the question, like in interview, in resume, should I put more quantitative information? You can, that's usually quantitative things are maybe more focused on 3. And yet not everything can be quantitative. So what's more important is, besides all the facts of 3 and 4, you have to do a lot of storytelling of 1 and 2. And storytelling here, I'm talking about behavioral things that would really help you to bring out your personality. So that is quite a lot to cover. I won't be able to go through in a lot of details, but I can share with you my methodology. Usually, if I work with any client, the first thing is that we identify the top 3 to 5 things of the person's strength or personality, and then we look for power stories. So power stories to support each of the pointer. And then we fit these power stories back into the resume to make sure that they come out very well. So one is example I can give you is, let's say this client is very good at picking up something, new knowledge, new domain very quickly. And the thing is, when you write in the resume saying fast learner, anywhere you put in a resume, this phrase is not even powerful, because anyone can just put a phrase fast learner, right? You can't differentiate with having a phrase there. But you can have a story, which is uniquely your story, saying that, let's say, whether it was an internship or one of your jobs, or it could be your, even in your personal domain, right? Your hobby or something, that you were able to go into a completely new domain, and within a very short time frame, you mastered something and you completed something. And you can, of course, exaggerate that challenge more and the achievement more, so that you have a unique story to tell that you are a fast learner. And these are the things that, if your story is very convincing, compelling, then your message is going to get through much sharper, comparing to, say, everyone just say I'm a fast learner, right? So there are, of course, you need to make sure this is one of the few messages that really are strong about you. Because if you are someone who's very thorough and think very carefully and good planner, good executor, but you are anything but a fast execution kind of guy, you shouldn't pitch yourself as a fast execution, but you talk about how thorough you are, right? So you should leverage your strength. So I have to move on to the next slide, and this is generally like a full session of work. One more thing I want to say is this: your mood is visible. I'm sorry, I think I have scratched my screen somehow. I don't know how to remove or erase these things. But these two ladies, right, they are literally the same person. I have met with many people when I was a headhunter, when I was working in corporate, or recently when I'm coaching my clients. Your mood is so much more visible than you could imagine. Which means if I see the person else, I may not tell him, but I know, okay, he's not in a good space. He is definitely already being weighed down by the circumstance. He seems like falling into depression or some sort of negativity. That negativity will come out in your interview very easily, not only by experienced interviewer like me, but anyone. And that negativity will definitely harm your chance for interview. So how do you do that then? So besides having a very clear understanding of your strength and all the strategy stuff, you need to manage your mental well-being. You need to clear the clouds from your head, because it is visible. I started this channel because I have been coaching. I felt like at one point of time I was repeating myself to everyone about how to do the interview, how to do the resume, and how to do this and that. And I was like, this is not the best use of my time, and not the most value that I could add, because I can really go into use that personal one-on-one session for them on the very personal things. And that's why I decided to share all of my insights on the side through this YouTube channel, that people can watch for free, and they can do their homework and they can use my framework without having to meet me. in person.
Don't forget to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, please do give the videos a like. It means a lot to me continuing with this channel.
So the next question is this the right time to change job? Actually, this question itself, many people ask me this, and many of my clients do, but I want to say, if you think carefully, this is actually not a valid question. Why? Because you see, when we ask ourselves, we say, what if I don't qualify for the job? What if there's too much competition in the market, and then the market is bad, and I'm not good at certain things? So when we think a lot about all these things, right, we become actually worried, not really thinking. And when we worry, right, eventually how it reflects on our action is that we start to apply for less jobs. We only apply for safe options, or we don't even apply. So that's all that this question will do for us. If your answer is no, this is not the right time, then you just hold on. But if you apply, there is actually nothing that you actually lose, right? So if we can look at say the market as, say, even if it's raining and you are actually covered in the umbrella of the reality, right? Whether you have a job now, or you are unemployed, or you are not in whatever situation, that's your status quo. So whether or not it's raining outside, whether it's hugely super bad market, it doesn't matter. You just need to do your best, because as long as you do apply, something will come back, and there's nothing that will hurt you. So just ignore how the market condition is and do what you can. And it's as simple as that. Because when you apply for job, it is basically a zero risk thing, right? You apply, the only thing is you invest your time and your effort, but there's nothing bad will come back to hurt you. Of course, many people are scared of rejection, because they're like, if I apply and then I hear nothing, then I'm going to feel so bad. So manage that. I also have I have a video on how to handle rejection, so that you can go and apply as many as you can. So I'll not repeat on that. I think I'm already a bit over time, right, Alvin? Can I have another 5 minutes, or I have to wrap up?
I think you can have another 5 minutes.
Okay. So the right way or the wrong way usually is this. A lot of us think a lot about making decisions. Is this the right time? Can I find a job? Should I go for this direction and all that? So we are sort of circling inside our mind. And then we fail to really go into generate opportunities and have the offers coming through the conversion funnel. So I call this the funnel of inaction, because here we spend too much time and effort on all this sort of loop, right? And nothing happens. We go on and on. What we really should be doing is have a very clear career strategy, decide on that, and we start to work really hard to generate pipelines, and then we work on the resume and interview skills to improve our conversion. It's also as simple as that. So basically you have career strategy where you understand your career capital, and then you work really hard on execution, and lastly you think about that job offer and make a wise choice, and make sure your funnel goes very well, so that you have enough offers to make a good choice from. Okay, let's ignore this one. I'm almost there. How to make New Year resolutions. So these are very generic things, but a few things I myself, after many trial and error, like I keep failing my New Year resolution. So I think I'm getting much better at it. First of all, actually, I don't really make New Year resolution so much. I make a goal anytime. I make a goal and say, okay, the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'm going to do this. So I have a much shorter cycle than 1 year. So that is much easier to track and to have the momentum, right? 1 year is just too long a commitment. Less is more. Don't have a long list. If you can, keep it to one. And once you finish or you have gained good momentum of that goal, then go for the second one, or you reinforce your first goal and develop it to be something a bit more ambitious. And if you actually fail, then it's okay. You can pick up again. You don't feel guilty or something. So, like sometimes we say, we want to eat healthy or sleep early, and then after 1 week you again sleep late. Then what do? Don't feel bad. You just next day you sleep early again. You can start that cycle again without feeling like you have spoiled it or failed yourself. Visualize your success instead of letting the guilt sort of weigh you down. I have other tricks and tips. I have already a video on this, so I won't skip. Lastly, actually on self-development, thanks for just now. I think someone answered time management. I think this is a huge area, and for everyone, this would mean very, very different things. I guess I'll leave that to a bit more to our Q&A if you have more specific questions, because self-development is literally one huge industry in the world, right? Like it's very hard for me to say what it is. But again, less is more. I don't want to go for 5. What I myself personally feel most important and perhaps most relevant for you now is take action. Don't need to think a lot about how to do things better. Of course, I know you are super intelligent people and you want to find ways to do it better, but the foundation is you need to be taking actions. Otherwise, a lot of thinking and better fine-tuning of your methods would still not give you enough results. And lastly, you need to understand the world. I feel that as much as we are all very connected to the world, at the same time, we are, because the world is so complex, there's huge influx of information. You need to find a way to effectively digest this information and not get the information overload, and to still come up with the right understanding of the world. And that is a skill, but unfortunately, that's the reality for all of us today. How do we come to a good view and understanding of things when we have so many sources of information, right? And try that. It's possible, whether it's on one industry or on a company or on a kind of a job function. There are a lot of resources available. Lastly, engage support. So actually, the way I look at it is support network like TalentLink or Best of, or even people like myself. We can act as the kind of filter for you. For this information, we can curate and we can channel some of the information and provide some perspective. And I'm glad that you are here today, and definitely look forward to work with you on more of your questions and some of your maybe other thoughts as well. So on my YouTube channel, I have put up all of your questions, and again, thanks to LB for passing those to me. So I have posted the questions here in this decision tab. And I realized that I have been able to answer 90% of the questions. And with a few that I couldn't, then I may plan to make a video just for that question. So make sure you come back and check. Maybe there are videos for you, or otherwise I have replied in text as well.
Right, I think that's a very insightful sharing from Yolanda here. And I think we can move on to the next segment, which is the resume assessment. So over here, I have one resume.
Don't forget to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, please do give the videos a like. It means a lot to me continuing with this channel.
So I'll hand it over to you, Yolanda.
Don't forget to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, please do give the videos a like. It means a lot to me continuing with this channel.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I already can give some comments. One thing I want to really highlight is that on the resume is like, let's say resume is this size, right? Imagine it as a shop front window. So, you have this shop along a nice street and people pass by, they will see the window before they decide to walk in or not. So in this window, you will try to present the best things that you have. And also you want to give more space to the more valuable things. So the first thing jumped into my eyes is that, okay, server, waitress has been given 3 bullets, but marketing intern has been given only 2 bullets. And can I see also for US, how many bullets is there? So US also has less, right? And then Jerome, JC. So we need to form a mental impression for the interviewer that there are a lot of comprehensive things of something that's very important. Obviously, you are trying to get a marketing job. This server waitress thing maybe only deserve 1 line. But what you have done in Singtel as a marketing intern, maybe it would deserve all the 6 bullet points. And when you talk about data visual analysis, you can talk about more things. You need to give more details, right? The kind of details here is that, for example, you can start from what is the objective of this data visual analysis? Is it to increase the engagement of their users, or is it to do cost cutting? So generally, why are you doing this, right? There's one. The other angle is which team were you in? When you say manage social media for the company, Singtel is a group. It has multiple different businesses, right? It even has a fintech arm, it has investment arm. Which arm of the company is? So if it is saying is managing social media, interacting for the telco of Singtel, interacting with ordinary or general consumers, right? Performing data visual analysis. Who is the audience? Once you have analyzed, is it for the senior management, or is it for your team, or is it for a certain project, or is it for a certain experiment, right? So provide context and provide objective, and if you can provide results. What after you perform this data visual analysis, what is the result? So there are 2 kinds of results. One is the analysis work you did it lead to any action by the team? The other type of result is, of course, if the company or the team leader give you any good feedback, and those things should come into your bullets as well. And then again, the second point, when you were appointed to take charge of various campaigns, what kind of campaigns were they, right? Were they B2C campaigns, and in what scale? What was the impact? What was the name? Sometimes it just makes the whole story a lot more real if you explain and deliver the details of the campaign versus when you have just various campaigns, right? So that's one. 2 is as I mean, I have nothing against server or waitress. I think it's good, but you have to tell the story in a way. I like it that you talk about leadership, responsibility, and all that. But is there any backdrop story about this? Let's say if I decided to do server or waitress, I can say what was my motivation. So for being a server waitress, what was it you are trying to achieve, or what was the reason you took it on? Is it that you want to achieve financial independence, or is it something that you felt, it's just a way of you engaging with the society? Or lastly, and also, again, if you talk about 4 tasks assigned, you need to explain what kind of task. Is it to, arrange, is it to organize wedding parties in that restaurant? Or is it to lead a team of freelancers? So those sort of things, again, is the same principle. Provide context, provide impact, and provide motivations. And that's why all these things would go back to your core of you, right? So if I may imagine a person who has been, doing the waitress job for a solid 3-4 years, to, let's say, support family, maybe there was a great sort of time management that was in play because you were working and at the same time you were studying marketing in US, and where you also worked with startup. And again, I'll give the same comments, right? If you were saying, I worked with startup and launched apps and services, I don't know if it was intentionally masked, but if you didn't, then you want to bring in more information about what startup, in what industry, what kind of new app and services, and what exactly did you do, right? Like how in these startups are not going to let you alone launch this app, but you have played a role in this. What is that role? Yeah, I think that's my main comment. I personally don't like a two-line format. I have a video formats, and I'm usually very against the two-line because you have to scroll down to see the left line, and then you scroll down to see the right side, and it also cuts your resume very short in terms of the width. You don't have a lot of space to play with. It's more important you make your content much richer. So this, even for undergraduate, your resume content can be a lot richer than this, which will help your ATS when the robots scan your CV, which will also help to bring out your personality and help you to differentiate. Yeah, I will stop.
All right, thank you so much, Yolanda, for sharing this insightful insights for this resume assessment. I think I learned a lot as well because I think we will never stop in, beautifying and improving our resume. So as for myself, I'm still learning how to beautify my own resume as well. All right, so I guess now is the right time for you guys to actually ask any questions that you have. So Yolanda can actually answer them. Okay, so
okay, we see the first question from Jasmine, and she asked, can you share more about the platforms for networking opportunities, please? So
I use this one called Lunch Club. It's a rather new platform. I see a lot of professionals there. Of course, if you are undergraduate or you have limited experience, you might have to also find a way to build your digital identity to make it interesting, right? And sometimes it doesn't have to be work related. Like people look for me because I have published a book and it doesn't have anything to do with the professional world. But that's how you become more authentic in the digital world, right? And that authenticity is very important. And similarly, you can always, go back to LinkedIn. And I mean, I know a lot of people on LinkedIn, and you were probably also advised as well, do not come to someone with too strong, motive and say, I'm looking for a job, please. So find a way to strike a conversation, just like what you would do in real life, and find common interests and try to, or just take a learning angle and say, I want to learn about certain things that I think you are an expert at. Yeah. Thanks, Karen. So any suggestion on how to deal with possible burnout from work? Possible burnout means you don't have burnout yet. Maybe I need a little bit more context. I think this is very interesting topic, but I want to know what exactly this question is about. Right. So when work takes most of the time of your life, so I think there are two aspects, right? Like work as per se really takes up our time that we are actually working, and the other part is the work takes up our mind when we are actually not working. And the second part, the first part, when there's too much of it, then we go into a bit of mental fatigue. Our energy level goes down, and then we have even less capability to control or to revive. Then we think more, right? The stress gets to us, and then this becomes a very bad sort of cycle. What's important is you need to identify. Is it just because of this cycle that you are physically tired and then it makes you mentally weak and you are sort of beaten down by stress. If this is the main reason, then you want to definitely take a break somewhere in between to break this cycle, right? Have a good weekend of rest, stop looking at your phone too much, to exercise as much as you can to break this cycle. So once our physical energy revives, then mental energy will come up. It's very obvious. And then you will stop all those too much of worry. But at one time it will again start to go down, and then after some time you have to do that revival, that retreat again, and then slowly go back, right? But if things are not so simple, like just this cycle, there's also real issues at work that is keeping you worried and occupying your mind, then you need to stop and talk to yourself what exactly is happening, what that is. So I don't know what that is. That is very different for every person. But if the thing here is you need to face it and you have to deal with it, not allow it to consume you, because you have to take charge, sort it out, and say, okay, what exactly is happening? What are my options? What do I want to achieve? Is so that instead of passively getting attacked, you now will take a proactive lead to address whatever is happening.
Okay, so we have a final question on our side, and I think it's more on how could I find the job that is compatible with my passion?
Okay, so I replied in that discussion in YouTube channel as well. I think there are three aspects of it. So for me, I always believe in, I think there's a few parts. One is, first of all, is awareness. From how the question is asked, it sounds like you already know what is your passion. But from after passion, it seems like you don't know the rest. So the three parts is, first is you need to know what is your passion. Many people don't know, so it needs a bit of pursuit. And the second one is to find what are the realistic or practical roles that are aligned to this passion. So that itself is, this part is not easy. And the third is even more difficult, which is actually get your foot on the track to attain that eventually, right? To have, so if I may structure it in a way that is actually about career planning, that you know roughly what your passion is, and then, but you don't know how exactly to start executing and what is the kind of a blueprint you have, right? So generally, the first part about, mapping out the potential options really is to to kind of know more about your passion. Like we may sometimes say, I like certain things, but this passion may not be that simple, right? So we may say like, I love to, in the past, I thought my passion was psychology. And I still like, but I realized that actually about psychology, it's not necessarily the passion as per se. What I liked was to be able to add value to others in a way, like to support others. And to do that, there are many other options, not only psychology, but say coaching was a very good option for me. Later I discovered. And I would still be interested in other form of education and for different age group and etc. as long as it is supporting others and helping and using my strengths in communication, for example, right? So again, many people, we thought we know our passion. Do we really know it?
Okay, thank you for sharing. I think we have one final question. Okay, so before I end this whole session, okay, so I think the question is asking like any tips to jump into financial industry for final undergraduate students with zero experience.
Okay, so I think financial industries do hire people with zero experience, and generally, even if you do have experience, in their eyes, it's very little, right? So I think don't worry so much about it, experience. They are not hiring you for experience, but they are hiring you for your potential and your intelligence, your capability of thinking and learning. right? So always try to position that way. And yes, your relevant background, say in finance, of course, if you are finance trained, it helps. But remember that even financial organizations, they need people from different walks of life. One example was when I was in Visa, we had very good management trainee programs. And I know people who were from public policy background, right? So she knew nothing much about, say, financials, but of course her economics background helps. And also in such an organization, all these instrumental companies, they need to work with the government a lot. So if you understand public policy, you can contribute in a different way. And if you come from, you have HR background, you have marketing background, you have all this, you can always go into financial industry because they need people from all different backgrounds, right? Even if you are engineer as well. So that is about experience. And yet, again, this financial services industry is extremely competitive, right? And if you are in the top, like Dean's list, I never was. So, but if you were in the top, with all these things, that is much easier to justify. But otherwise, it becomes harder to, let's say, immediately get into it. But you can always sort of take a detour. That's why I created one video also on the different ways to enter fintech industry, because the point here is this, right? I have seen many people who, let's say, who joined Bloomberg or who were with maybe just the other sort of data services company who are not even in financial services. They eventually move into fintech because the kind of skill sets are useful in financial services industry as well. So you can check it out. I don't think I'll take more time of everyone. Nice evening here.
Don't forget to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, please do give the videos a like. It means a lot to me continuing with this channel.